it's like a filter for the words, but you need it for when you text. Especially when you get drunk, you text anybody you want.
I have no idea what we would have talked about last night.
You called me and you were like, should we change this logo? And I'm like, you're like, let's do this now. And I'm like, no, you're hammered, and I'm trying to take a dump and go to bed. And I'm like, yeah, and you just like, no, I want to talk. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to bed. See ya. And I just hung up on you because you were just slurring your words and sounding like an artard.
I woke up and I was like, I feel like I talked to DJ last night, but I don't really know.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
Well, for the second day in a row then, let's get loaded. Welcome to the Loaded Box Podcast,
where we never finish first because we finish last.
Thank you once again for tuning in to the Loaded Box Podcast. I am Ben. That is DJ. Oh man, what a crazy day. I just spent like my entire day just driving, hungover, tired. All I want to do is go to bed. But I have a feeling that we need to build a little bit on this podcast after crushing it last week with our against the spread picks. Just robbing the bank.
You know what you needed probably to keep you awake and keep you going today?
What's that?
A little cocainus.
Cocainus. Is that cocaine that goes in
I heard you ever heard of cocainus?
I've never heard of it, but I'm assuming it has to do something with cocaine and your anus.
Yeah, it's when you put a little cocaine on your finger and you finger someone's asshole.
Wait, you figure...
You finger their asshole with a little cocaine on your finger.
Does it do like the same thing as if you were to put it in your nose?
Yeah, like, you know how you like people like butt chug stuff and they get hammered drunk real quick?
Yeah.
It's like just a faster way of fucking feeling that cocaine, man. A little cocainus.
This isn't a thing. So
that shit would have pumped you up.
So do you put it on your finger and then you trick somebody? You're like, ha, gotcha, and you stick it in their butt quick? Or do you do it to yourself, or do you do it to a friend?
I was listening to somebody talk about it. They were talking about this guy put a little cocaine on his finger in a TV show and then fingered this girl. And then they were talking about doing the anus, and it was cocainus, and that's just genius.
Man, that is something. There's a list of things in this world that I will never do, and cocainus is on the top of it.
I mean, I'll do it, but as long as it's just on my finger.
No way, man. No cocainus, no pickles. I will do none of that. That's where I draw the line. Butt stuff and pickles is where I draw the line. So with that, should we hop on the Matt Berry hate train again?
Fuck yeah. All right, back on the fuck Matthew Berry love-hate track hater. Love-hate tracker.
That's a mouthful right there.
Love-hate tracker. Again, I'm only doing loves, checking how bad MB's loves are this year. Week 2, I've got a list of week 2 here. Again, we're going by NFL.com scoring predictions. Little shove it up your ass to Matthew Berry of ESPN.
A little cocainus for him.
What?
A little cocainus for him.
A little cocaine. I would cocainus the fuck out of him. So, before I get to what I was going to get to here, you know what I was thinking about Matthew Berry?
What were you thinking?
You know how he blocked us?
Yeah.
And you know how they say when you love somebody, you got to set them free?
Yep.
Like, you got to let them go or whatever. So I think Matt Berry doesn't hate us. I think he blocked us because he loved us so much.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah. So he had to he blocked us so he couldn't see us, and he had to just try to get us out of his head so he couldn't see us talking all the time. But it's too fucking late for Matthew Berry because we're already in the fucker's head.
It's too late to apologize, as
it's too late.
John Legend once said. Is that John Legend?
You know what it reminds me of is the 40-Year-Old Virgin, where it's like, I love women so much that I can choose to completely stay away from them.
Yeah, that's the perfect quote for that.
Yeah, that's it. All right, so let's get through these real quick so we can get on to the real shit. So this week in his loves, he had Ben Roethlisberger, 17.52 points. He hit that one. Jameis Winston, 12.46 points. I count that as a miss. Don't want 12.46 on my quarterback. Always looking at least 15 and above.
Yeah.
4 quarterbacks.
There's that thing I was talking about.
Yeah, no, that was like a hiccup burp because I'm drinking beer. So we're back to that. Ty Montgomery, 23 points exactly. That's obviously a hit. He was a monster. He's the top running back, maybe one of the better running backs in the league for fantasy football. Fuck you, Ben. Marshawn Lynch, 10.9 points. He finished 16, so I'm going to count that as a miss. I want my loves in the top 12. So I'm counting Marshawn Lynch as a miss. I expect more of Marshawn Lynch. But I gave him Jacquizz Rodgers just because it's Jacquizz Rodgers at 12.7 points, so I'm going to give him a hit on that one.
I like how you get to like make the rules for this.
Well, I think he actually was in the top 12 anyway.
I feel like you're being fair, so that's fine. I like how like you get to set the rules.
It seems like fair. Well, these next ones are easy as fuck. Then he had Brandon Cooks, 4.3 points, miss. Golden Tate, 2.5 points, miss. Tyreek Hill, 4.9 points, miss. Adam Thielen, 2.4 points, miss. Is this a common theme?
There is a common theme.
2.3 points, miss. What a bitch. And Delaney Walker, 12.2. Only one he hit there for a while. Again, he only hit 4 out of 11.
And
bringing him...
Yeah, and Delaney Walker ran his touchdown in.
He did run it. Well, yeah, he did. It was a jet sweep type deal, wasn't
it? So that was that was close to being a miss.
That makes him 8 for 25 so far in the year, so not looking so good.
I like that. You got to keep the season long total running on that one.
I'm not going to stop because he sucks.
I think like what we could judge him on is like almost like a baseball batting average.
Yeah, I tried to think of that, but like when you're doing picks like this, the baseball batting average is hard because that's like 320 for a batting average. Yeah. So you have to look at it as like as more of just like the record as it is. So 500 is average. Below that's really bad. You look at 320, that's not good.
I like that better than the baseball analogy.
Yeah.
Well, let's go on to our record because, like I said, we crushed it against the spread last week. You were 2-1, and then I was perfect at 3-0. So a hell of a bounce back week after we both went 1-2. So season total, you're 50%, 3-3, and I am 66% at 4-2. Let's hear what you got this week.
All right, DJ Primo's up. I'm going to start with one that you'll like here.
Uh-oh.
I'm going with the Dolphins.
Uh-oh.
And I hope, did you get your spreads today?
Oh, I looked yesterday.
Okay, so mine are from today.
Okay.
So they're most recent. I got Dolphins -6 at the Jets.
Look at you falling into the Dolphins trap here.
Well, there's no trap. It's Jets can't stop the fucking run, and I believe Ajayi actually should have a field day today. So, on Sunday. So I do actually think Ajayi will go off for like a 150-yard, 2-touchdown game, something like that. You know, the Ajayi thing, and then suck after that. And I think Wake and Sue are just going to destroy whoever their fucking McClown quarterback is. So I think it's just going to be a field day on the quarterback who's McClown there. It's just going to get destroyed. So I think -6 is easy in that game. I expect that to be a big difference. I don't even know if the Jets will score.
Do you remember the week, I think it was like week 15 or 16 last year, these two teams played on Thursday night, and the center snapped it on the wrong count, and it just happened to be the play where Sue ended up lining up on defensive end, the opposite side of Wake, and they legit met at, I think it was Bryce Petty. They met at him at the same time and legit just squished him. Like, I don't know, I think he almost like collapsed a lung on the play.
Yeah, I don't remember that stuff.
I do. It was like my favorite moment from the Dolphins last year. But I agree with what you're saying on Ajayi. I'm going to talk about him a little bit later in some daily fantasy sports. But yeah, what about the Viking, or not the Vikings, the Jets owner or interim owner, whatever the hell you want to call him, claiming that we promise we're not tanking this season. I feel like that's the only thing they can do. They're just tanking. They have to be.
I mean, they're not tanking because their players are trying, but they're putting players on the field that are so bad that it's a tank.
And you're in a position at that point where you have to say you're not tanking because otherwise you're not going to make any money because your fans aren't going to come until you stop tanking. So, yeah, I think it's funny. I'm normally really nervous about the Dolphins playing in New York, but I don't know. I just don't have that too much of a nervous feeling for this Sunday.
I have to tell my wife that I'm not going to come until she stops tanking.
She's going to be tanking forever.
All right. Up next, I've got the Buccaneers. This seems like a trick to me, but this is going to be my lock anyways. This is my lock of the week. I hit last week. I'm going to take the Buccaneers +1.5 at Minnesota. Even if Bradford does play, which they said he was out practicing, and he looked good right away, a little pep in his bitch-ass step. Do you actually expect him to play a whole game? Do you trust him to stay healthy?
Yeah, I don't think
they don't even know what's under all his scar tissue.
Yeah, no kidding. They can't even decipher what's going on there just because it's such a compiled mess right now. So, yeah, that's an ugly situation.
And the fact that even if Bradford does play and he's fine, the Buccaneers defense is so talented, and I think the Vikings offensive line still isn't really that good. That they're just gonna suffocate anything that the Vikings try to do, whether they try to run with Gerald McCoy just coming through, Quan Alexander, Levante David, or pass the ball. They've got D-backs just galore out there. I think that they're going to have a field day against this Vikings. Against this Vikings offense, and that's one of the defenses I would look to stream the Buccaneers if I'm somebody this week. And the Buccaneers offense is too talented, I think, just to be stopped by the Vikings D. They had 1 week. This is their first week last week. Not the best offensive performance, but I think you'll see Deshaun Jackson do a little bit of Martavis Bryant on Trey Waynes and beat him deep at least once for a touchdown.
Right. Yeah, I don't really like this game too much, just because of I don't know about the Vikings quarterback situation. I don't know how the Buccaneers are gonna compete against this level of a defense. But I'm with you on that whole Deshaun Jackson thing. I have him in a league this week, and I'm just like, do I bench him again like I benched Bryant? And the thing that kills this defense is the speed. So as of right now, I did bench him. I put in Landry over Deshaun Jackson, and I'm wondering if that might be a mistake because, like I said, Bryant is kind of like that Deshaun Jackson for the team. So I hope I don't make the same mistake again. But in regards to against the spread, I'm going to leave this one alone.
And then lastly, I've got the Jets +6 going up.
Jets, huh?
Yeah, the Giants at +6 at the Eagles. I think the Giants will put together their passing game this week with Odell Marshall, Sterling. Well, one of those three, if not two out of the three of those guys, will go off this week. And I just think the Giants secondary is real fucking good. Like, they're the real deal.
Yeah.
The Eagles already can't run the ball, but I don't think they'll be able to pass. So I think, and just that's because of the Giants secondary. Plus, I think Wentz is going to get exposed. So, what are you laughing at?
Nothing. I'm good. I just saw something funny.
So I like Giants +6. I think this is a put together week, especially in a division rivalry year. So I like division rivalry games to stay close like this. So I will more than likely take the underdog in most of these games that are like that. Like, I have to. Yeah,
and right before we started this, I saw a stat about Odell Beckham. Some of his career best games have come against the Eagles. Like, we're talking 10-plus catches, 150-plus yards. So there's something about this matchup that he likes. And I agree with you with it being the divisional game. They seem to be close, especially these two. So, yeah, if I had to take a side on this one, I probably would take the Giants. But that offensive line and just offensive output in general scares the shit out of me because the Eagles' front seven is really good. And Eric Flowers has turned into a turnstile. So I don't know. I don't know if this is that week for the offense to break out.
Yeah, Eli really does suck. I'm going to sit there and I'm going to beat that shit. Just tell you guys every week how fucking bad he is. You can't spell E. coli without Eli, and that motherfucker makes me sick. I'm on fire!
How long have you been sitting on that one?
Actually, it just came to my head about a minute ago when you were talking.
Nice. Very well.
You're up.
All right, so the Pick Six segment continues with my three here. And actually, I'm gonna give you a bonus pick this week.
Here we go.
Which is...
Mine didn't work out so well last week. So.
I forgot to even ask how yours did. I'm really leery about this bonus pick because I actually struggled to find 3 games I even like. But I found a bonus one.
Because the Dolphins didn't go over, I'm pretty sure. I don't think they were even close.
Nope, that didn't.
Yeah.
Nope. My first one here is the Titans versus the Seahawks. Tennessee -3. I like the Titans here mainly because Seattle's offense has looked so inept right now. And Tennessee's balance of offense, being able to run, being able to pass. I know Seattle's defense is pretty good, but I think Tennessee provides that versatility where if one thing's not working, they can probably get the other thing up and running. And Seattle's offensive line just sucks so bad that I just don't think they're going to get much going offensively. So one play would potentially be the under, but when it's all said and done, Tennessee at home, it's a field goal at the worst here. I think I'm getting a push. But yeah, I'm not sold on Seattle. They're going to need to show me something before I can try to even pick them or even consider using one of their guys in fantasy or daily fantasy.
See, this game worries me a little bit. There's the reason I didn't touch this, because I could see this game being like 7-6, because Seattle can't really score.
Right.
And Tennessee just hasn't shown me the ability to throw the ball real well, so I feel that they feel like they can probably load up the box, stop that run, loaded box.
Yeah, there it is.
And stop the run a little bit, and then force them to pass and just have their secondary do what their secondary does, which worried me the most. That what worried me in this game. So I think that Tennessee could struggle to score, probably pull up the win, but I think their defense, Tennessee's defense, is bad enough that they do let Seattle get in the red zone at least twice and kick 2 field goals. So
there you go,
I think
7-6
will
prediction.
win, but I like 7-6.
I was going to ask you later what your bold prediction for Week 3 is, but I think that might be it.
Yeah.
I like it. My next one is another team favored by 3. I've got the Dallas Cowboys by 3 at Arizona. I think last week's Cowboys performance was a bit fluky, and one of the most underwhelming teams this year has been the Arizona Cardinals. So I think Dallas is probably the best candidate for a real good bounce back week. And as long as it doesn't go up to 3.5, I like the Cowboys here. They've been getting a lot of shit. Zeke's been getting crap. The coach is basically blaming Dak. So I think they're going to come back really firing here. Speaking of Zeke, did you see the photo about him in college where he had like a 12-pack? And then they showed him in the NFL where he had, we're talking about his abs here, not his cooler. Then in the NFL it carried over, and now this year it looks like he looks like us.
No, don't Eddie Lacy him.
Well, I don't mean to, but I'm just saying, man. That was the rumor about him coming out of college. He loves the party, so I think it might be catching up to him.
I don't think it's that big of a deal. But again, this is I must have missed this game somehow, because I think if I would have saw it, or if it would have registered in my brain, I would have been all over this, man. I expected it to be more like -7 and still taking this game. To me, this is like I'm not going to compare Dak or anything to Tom Brady or like that, but this is like how I took the Patriots as my lock over the Saints after the loss in the first week. I feel like this is a similar thing. Come all pissed.
Right.
Zeke go for a bunch. Does have a good game. I don't imagine that this game is really close, to be honest with you.
Right, and it's the whole situation of...
I'm going to probably end up betting on that one. I don't even have it on my sheet.
Yeah, like you said, you had your one that you felt more of a lock. This is probably the one I'm the most comfortable with. I think that one. I think that's kind of like an overreaction for Dallas, and I think they're taking it too much. Todd Gurley. Oh, we're watching the Rams 49ers game while we're recording this, and Gurley just scored his second touchdown. So I'm going to use him in daily fantasy this week.
Nailed it.
Let's go on to my third one. This one is just, I feel like it might be too obvious. That's why I'm not quite as high on this one, but it's the over 50.5 in the Falcons and Lions game. Atlanta's going to score regardless of who they play. Detroit has a potent enough offense where they can put up points. I just see both teams hitting at least 4 touchdowns in this one. So I don't. It almost seems too good to be true, which scares me a little bit. But what did the Packers end up scoring against the Falcons? They ended up in the 20s, didn't they?
3 or something like that.
And they were playing without 2 tackles. They were playing without their not 2 best receivers, but 2 of their top 3 receivers.
Yep.
I don't know. I just see Atlanta giving up a few. I could see Stafford going for like probably 3 or maybe 4 touchdowns in this one. But I think Atlanta wins outright. So if Detroit's scoring around 21, 28, I think Atlanta's going to get into the 30s. So I just see this one going over 50.5. It's indoors. Yeah. Both these teams are going to be playing fast. It just seems too good to be true. That's why I'm a little bit leery on it.
Yeah, the Packers and Falcons, it was 23. So it was 23-34, so that's 57 points.
Yeah.
You imagine if he actually has anybody out there.
Yeah, exactly.
A left tackle or right tackle, either one of the tackles, the one guy can ship on either side. They were helping on both sides. Both wide receivers, you can imagine this game's 40-37 or something like that instead. Right. So I imagine the Lions will be similar because I think their defense is even a little bit, I don't like to say it, but it might be lesser than Green Bay. I really like the Kevin King guy. Might be able to play.
That's going to help. They just need to stay healthy everywhere else. It seems like every time the Packers play the Falcons, it's just like worst case scenario for Green Bay.
Nick Perry's having surgery.
Who is?
Nick Perry.
Is he really?
Yeah,
I didn't hear that one.
It's like the same thing as last year, but less severe. So he'll be out for a game or two.
Oh, okay. Nice.
And then we'll have a club and still dominate and be better than Clay.
I don't think the club should be legal, to be honest with you. And what
you can't grab anybody, though.
What the hell has Rob Gronkowski been wearing on his elbow for the last 2 years? There's no way that robotic-looking thing is legal in the NFL.
I thought that was illegal from the beginning.
Holy shit. That guy's got it's like a plate of armor. You can't wear that. My bonus pick, I won't go too deep into it, but it's the Chargers +3 versus the Chiefs. I'm kind of on the fence with this one, but if you can get this at 3.5, it would jump into my picks. It would probably be used over the Atlanta-Detroit over in this one. I just think it's that divisional game. It's going to be tight. Chargers, I don't want to say it's a must-win because it's only week 3, but being 0-2 in that division.
It is in that division.
Yeah, it's not a good look. So if you can get that thing up to 3.5, I would take the Chargers in that one.
Yeah. I considered that one as well, and I actually kind of talk about more of it in the DFS stuff.
Yeah. Do you want to do DFS by position, or do you want me to go and then you to go?
I'm going to do it the same way I did last week, so it doesn't matter to me.
I love how we have to talk about this one during the podcast. We just never settle it. We just wing it.
I kind of like it, though. It kind of gives two perspectives on. You kind of give like guys that I don't think you should get, and I give kind of like a lineup.
Yeah.
With guys you can put in there and fill in. So.
Fair enough.
It gives a look from both two different angles of what we like.
Well, let's roll with it then. At quarterback, I'm going to suggest Jay Cutler. Just because of the fact he's only $7,400. He's playing at the Jets. I don't expect it to be a huge week for him, but we just saw Carr throw, 4 touchdowns against the Jets? Not saying that Cutler's in that same class as Carr, but like we talked about earlier, the Jets seem to be just in tank mode. I think Ajayi is going to be good. I'll hit on that here in a second. But in regards to what might be more of a bargain at quarterback, I like Cutler. And a guy to avoid, like a natural candidate here for regression, I think Trevor Siemian at 7,400. If you just look at his price tag, you're like, wow, he's actually, I think I read that he's like the second leading quarterback in fantasy this year. So far, it's only 2 weeks. And at $7,400, you would think that's a bit of a bargain. But playing at Buffalo, I don't know. There's going to be something tricky to that game. And I really don't think that you would want to use him in daily this year, or this week.
I can't get on the Jay Cutler train ever, so you don't know what he's going to do week to week. I think that's a Jay game. But Trevor Siemian, I can see him regressing. I did pick him up this week because they are playing Buffalo. So I still expect a decent game out of him because my only other options are Tyrod Taylor and Andrew Luck. I can't play Andrew Luck.
You're using Siemian then.
Yeah, so I've got to use Siemian in this case. So I'm hoping he has a decent game, but I can definitely get on board with what you're saying.
Yeah. So last week I thought it was the week to go bargain at running back. All the good guys seem to have really tough matchups. And we hit, like you said, Montgomery was a bargain. The 2 guys from New England were a bargain, and they all did fairly well. But
both pretty decent, yeah.
Yeah, and this week I think it's kind of the opposite. I think this might be your week where you go expensive. So find bargains at other positions and then go expensive at running back. And if you follow that strategy, I would go Le'Veon Bell. He's $8,700. He's at the Bears. I think Pittsburgh wins this game. You have the whole Ben Roethlisberger on the road deal, so his touchdowns will probably be down.
Yeah, so Le'Veon Bell then.
Yeah, I think Le'Veon Bell leads the way. We were talking about him not getting touchdowns yet through the first 2 weeks. I just think that this is his week. He's about to explode. So he's expensive, but I'm using him.
Last person I'm worried about in the league is Le'Veon Bell.
Right. And I also think we talked about Jay Ajayi. He's another expensive one. He's $8,200. He, last year, in the first game against the Jets, 24 carries, 111 yards, and a touchdown. Second game wasn't quite as good, but he still had 19 carries. But that's the game that Matt Moore came in and threw 4 touchdowns, so the offense was just kind of clicking through the air, so they didn't rely on Ajayi quite as much. But Gase has kind of shown he's going to limit Cutler a little bit. He's going to run the ball. They're going to try to control it, win the game. So I'd go with Ajayi as well if you wanted to go expensive running back.
How many J, A's, and Y's can you have in your name?
Didn't really consider that before. He's got to lead the league in J and Y.
Yeah, multiple letters.
if you want to go bargain guy at running back, you're going to hate this, but
Yep.
I like Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I hate it.
$6,800. So he's not like a flat out bargain, but the Saints
Can't run between the tackles.
let's not go that far yet. But what I'm gonna say, because last week you used James White, and against the Saint defense, he went for 8 catches, 80 yards, I believe. And Carolina's offense has been so inept right now that I think they're gonna have to try new things. So maybe throwing the ball to McCaffrey a little bit more could be one of those. Bargain guy, I think I'm gonna go with McCaffrey and just hope he breaks out this week.
Yeah, I'm not touching him.
I want to ask you a question on receiver.
Okay.
Both of these guys are going for $7,700. It's the teammates of Crabtree and Amari Cooper. How the hell how do you decide between the two? Because I think one of them is going to be good every week. I think you're fine there and you want to have them in your lineup, but how do you decipher which one you're going to go with?
You decide who had the last better couple of games, and you pick the opposite guy.
Just go opposite.
Yeah.
That might not be a bad thing so far.
Well,
so
they did last year.
Yeah, so use Cooper this week then.
I am.
Well, if you're going to go expensive at running back, if you end up going bargain at receiver, I think you're going to like this guy, Devontae Adams, 6,800 versus Cincinnati, especially if Nelson doesn't play or if Nelson's hobbled. He's probably not going to be full strength, so 6,800 against the Bengals, I think, is a sure thing.
Just what that guy does to people. I don't know what took him so long to get the ball to him. I think Rodgers was getting pressured so quick. It had to be Cobb, Montgomery, those type of guys real quick. But when he started to air it out, when he got time, Devontae took over, and that catch he made, he's good, and people don't understand how good he is.
Yeah, so that's one of the guys I like here. I'm going to give you another hypothetical. So both of these guys are $6,500. Devontae Parker and Martavis Bryant. Which one would you go with?
Who do they have?
Parker is at the Jets, and Bryant is versus the Bears.
I go Bryant. Sorry. No, I meant to say Parker. I go Parker this week because Steelers are on the road.
Yeah.
Bears have a pass rush that's actually pretty decent. They're front seven. And Devontae Parker is going to be Jay Cutler's boy. He's just going to throw him up the ball. And I don't know if, Devontae Parker practiced this move all season or if this has been his thing. But just underthrow him, and then he'll just pick it from the cornerback before he gets chipped.
Yeah, no kidding, man. He just clowned that guy. Just stopped a little bit.
He did that in the preseason, too. He just picked it right in front of his face. He loves that shit right there.
What pisses me off about Parker is, all out when he's running, he's somewhat fast. He's not the fastest guy in the world, but he does have good speed. Yeah. But he always catches that ball, and then it takes him a little while to get up to top speed, and he always gets caught.
Well, he's facing the other way when he catches the damn ball.
I want him to be faster.
Well, you can't. You ever face the other way when you're catching the ball?
Not sober.
You got to turn around and start running. Yeah, you got to get the Jets going while everybody's running at you.
Check out this bargain pick at receiver here. Devin Funches is only $4,800. I know that the Carolina Panthers has been trash can offense this week, but if there was ever a week for the Carolina Panthers to break out, it would be against the New Orleans Saints. So,
Goff is the kiss the ball. Sorry.
No worries. You're always ahead of me on these games, so I'm just seeing Goff right now almost throw a touchdown.
Perfect fucking throw, guy dropped it.
It was a nice throw. But this is a really far out pick, but you can go super expensive at some other positions if you're only spending $4,800 on a wide receiver. $4,800 is like what you spend on a defense typically.
Yeah.
Tight end, another hypothetical here. Are you going to ride the wave with Jason Witten? The first 2 weeks, week one he had 15, last week he had 20, and now he's still only $5,500 at the Cardinals.
Nope. Yeah, the tight ends, you want me to elaborate? Is that what you want me to do?
Well,
tight ends are so inconsistent in this league that I don't do back-to-back anything with those guys.
Yeah, I just wasn't really high. Yeah, true. I just wasn't that high on Witten the way it was this year, and now he's got, like I said, he's hit at least 15 points each week, touchdown each week.
Have you watched Witten run before? He can't even bend his fucking knees.
Yeah, he looks like he has Rob Gronkowski's elbow brace on his lower half.
If this isn't his last year, I declare a thumb war.
There you go. A bargain option at tight end would be Eric Ebron. He's only $5,200. He's going against the Falcons. He caught all 5 of his targets last week against the Giants, and now he's going against a defense who is just 23rd, I believe, against the pass right now. So $5,200. He's a guy that, kind of like last week, he might be touchdown dependent, but I see that game being high scoring. So I like Ebron at $5,200.
Who's your kicker?
I don't have any kickers to recommend this week. I'm going to go straight to some defenses. I'm not huge. Well, I've been hot on defenses this year, and I think there's a couple you can't go wrong with. You got Baltimore, only $5,000 at. It's not at Jacksonville. It's actually in London. I think Baltimore scores a touchdown in that game on defense. The Rams, 4,900 against the 49ers. That one already started, so you can cross that one off the board. Otherwise, the Eagles are only 4,500 against the Giants. So those are my defensive recommendations.
Nice.
Let's hear what you got.
It's funny, you went Eagles against the Giants?
I did.
I went Giants against the Eagles for 4,400. Okay. I'm just going to kind of highlight I kind of went down the middle. Not kind of. I went right down the middle for every position. I didn't go high at anything. I didn't go low at anything. I stayed right down the center all the way through because there's a lot of guys that I liked. All right? Are you catching all that?
I caught it.
All right. So I started out with Phillip Rivers, $7,500 versus Kansas City. Oh, DJ, why would you take Phillip Rivers against Kansas City? Chiefs have given up the 4th most passing yards so far this year. 4th.
Great stat.
I would think that.
I would have never thought that. But they played Tom Brady week 1, so that might skew it a little bit.
They dominated Tom Brady week 1.
Well, yeah, but I think the Patriots still scored in the 20s.
Touchdowns.
That's true. But you're talking about yardage probably.
I am talking about yardage. And then plus Rivers at home in a divisional game when they're 0-2, he's going to throw the fucking ball constantly. He's going to throw the ball a lot. He's pissed. He's going to make sure they throw the ball a lot.
And the thing about I think the thing about Rivers is, and I think we've talked about this before, he's been around the block. I mean, he's been in the league so far. He's played against so many good defenses. He's one of those guys that he's probably going to score regardless of who they play. I mean, he still put up 2 touchdowns. I think he had 20 fantasy points against the Broncos. And the Broncos' pass defense is better than the Chiefs.
Oh, yeah. And when you're a quarterback like him in the league, like Aaron Rodgers in the league, when you lose a game, when you lose 2 games in a row, you're putting the game on your back next game. And Rodgers does that. You can guarantee when Rodgers loses a game or 2, he's going to go off. Yeah. And so Phillip Rivers is that type of guy. I went Ty Montgomery again. They finally moved his price up.
I noticed that. He finally hit the
7,200.
7,000s, yeah.
Yeah, but they give up the second most Bengals, give up the second most rushing yards in the league. Plus he catches the ball. So the combination of the two, it's going to be hard to stop. And you know what? He's the first, second, and third down running back. I haven't even seen the fullback out there that much.
Right.
He's out there for 88% of the plays right now. It'll go down, but still going to be a lot.
It's a matter of like a couple of weeks. Like you said, they finally just jacked his price up a little bit. He was consistently like $6,500 the end of last year and then the first 2 weeks of this year. But just a matter of time before he's not going to be a bargain play at all anymore.
That's because he's awesome. This week, I'm going 6,600 with Isaiah Crowell at Indianapolis.
That's just because you want that to work out.
Not only do I want it to work out, but I think it has to work out. This is his breakout game. Kaiser coming off of a 4-interception game. Crowell is in the news for talking to Hugh Jackson about his carries. Hugh Jackson off season was talking about how he wants to get Crowell the ball and how he was disappointed in the fact that he didn't give it to him. And now you're seeing the result of what happens when they're not giving him the ball. They got just smoked into Sean Kaiser through 4 interception.
Right.
So my prediction for Isaiah Crowell this week, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns.
How does that conversation go with your coach when you're not getting enough carries? Like, is it polite? Is it in the middle of a meeting? Is it a knock on the door in the office? How does that work?
I mean, when you're a good enough player, you just probably you're able to go in and talk to your coach and have casual conversations. Maybe.
I just feel like it would be weird. I'd text him.
It's a situation where he has a lot of probably good points, and Hugh Jackson just not as head and say you're right.
Yeah.
Because we're getting our fucking ass kicked.
And it's against the struggling Colts. So that's one way to maybe get back on track is limit the exposure that Kaiser has to make mistakes and ride out a running back who is good when given opportunities.
And then I grabbed the most undervalued wide receiver in all of football for FanDuel this week. AJ Green at $7,500.
Oh, that is nice.
Fucking steal.
I like that. Even though the Bengals offense hasn't scored, I still like that.
Yeah. Nick Perry isn't going to be playing this week, so that means no pass rush. Fuck Clay Matthews. He sucks. He had a decent game last week, but he's not that good anymore. I don't care. And then Daniels may or may not be playing, so Mike Daniels, they're going to struggle to get to the quarterback there. And I think they're just going to put an emphasis on getting the ball to A.J. Green. Plus, the Bengals aren't going to have a choice but to have to throw to keep up in this game.
Right.
It's what's going to happen. Rodgers is angry.
It's just
Tackles are back.
Yeah. Well, it's just like how Julio dominated the first half against the Packers last week. And now, like you said, like Green is kind of like the Bengals version of Julio. And I think I tweeted this out earlier from the Loaded Box account a couple days ago that if there is two like buy low guys right now, it's Le'Veon Bell and A.J. Green. Because at some point the Bengals will start scoring touchdowns, and A.J. Green, you would hope, would be that guy.
Yeah, I don't hope it, but I just assume it because I'm a Green Bay fan, and I imagine he's still going to have a good game. Kevin King's good, but he's still a rookie, and he can't cover a guy like A.J. Green yet. So
right.
He's going to struggle. He will struggle. Next, I took Amari Cooper. I said it. Crabtree's had his way. Now it's Cooper's turn. Washington can't stop the pass. Keenan Allen, 7,200. Cooper was 7,700. You said that. Keenan Allen, 7,200 versus Kansas City. Same reason I took Rivers, so I'll skip through those. Travis Kelce again. I had plenty of money to take a bunch of good guys, so I'm going to stick with Kelce. Alex Smith's favorite target. I'm actually going to give my kicker this week for you guys because he's going to score double-digit points, and I'm going to guarantee it.
Another bold prediction for Week 3.
I'm taking Will Lutz, 4,600, the New Orleans Saints kicker at Carolina. Carolina D is real good in the red zone. So New Orleans is going to move the ball down the field, and then they're going to get stopped in the 20-yard line, somewhere in that area, kick a field goal. Bunch of times. Nice.
That's just the best kicker breakdown analysis we've given to date on the Loaded Box podcast.
Yeah. And then I took the Giants.
Simple as that.
But I think the main focuses are A.J. Green and Isaiah Crowell.
Those are your two DFS
Those are the two guys I think that you need to have in your lineup.
Nice. I like it. I would say that my one that I'm really targeting this week is I'm going bargain in some places. I'm going to be able to afford Le'Veon Bell. I think that's my must-have in my lineups this week. Let's crack out a couple of listener start-sit questions. This first one here, I don't know if it's a joke or if this guy went no quarterback strategy, but it's Joe Flacco and Andy Dalton.
Well, I think you have to go, who do we got? We got Andy Dalton against the Packers. We got Ravens against the...
Ravens play in London against the Jags.
How come every time I come around? Okay, the London thing is just bullshit, so let's go Andy Dalton against the Packers in a high-scoring game.
I like Andy Dalton for the same reasons you said. Like, if there's one thing the Packers are going to struggle at, it'd probably be against the pass and A.J. Green. So I think they finally find the end zone this week, and if those are really your options, try to make a trade. But if you can't make a trade, I would use Dalton this week.
Plus the Jaguars are playing at home, so I'm taking the Jaguars to win that game.
Nice. The home away from home.
That's their home field, isn't it?
It pert near is, I think.
They've been there for the last 2 months already.
No kidding. Another quarterback conundrum. Cameron Newton and Benjamin Roethlisberger. Who you got?
Again, this seems like a hard choice, but it really isn't. Cam Newton. They're going against the Saints. The Saints give up the most fucking yards in the league. The Saints suck. Cam can be inaccurate. He's still going to hit somebody that's running down the field. He could probably be throwing it to fucking McCaffrey, and Kelvin Benjamin will end up catching it. Big Ben is on the road. Nothing.
Yeah, I think if Ben was home, I would feel more comfortable about using him on this one. I don't want to keep relying on that stat, but there's so much to it. Like, it's not like he's like a second or third year player. The dude's been in the NFL for a long time now. So there's something to that.
No, it's a real thing.
It's definitely a thing. And
I hate saying it, but it is.
Right. And I like I said earlier when I was talking about Funchess, if there's ever a week,
Funchies.
I'm sorry. If there's ever a week for the Panthers to break out, it has to be this week. If they struggle this week, I'm gonna sell my Panthers stock. I'd be done with them, I think. Tight end conundrum here. We got the Rook, Evan Ingram versus the wily veteran Antonio Gates.
So we got Eagles and the Chargers, Chiefs. I gotta go Evan Ingram in this one. Watching him is. I texted you last week. It's like watching Jimmy Graham, like a wide receiver, play tight end. The guy is athletic as fuck. Like it's fun to watch him run around. He doesn't look like a tight end at all.
Right.
Which is the way NFL's going with those guys. And then just get a second guy who can block because tight end. And Antonio Gates is just purely almost just a touchdown guy at this point.
Yeah, you'd really be.
I'm not going to rely on that.
Yeah.
I did last week, which worked out, but not this week.
We ended up relying on all three of these ones that we'll go through because I'm with Ingram as well here. I hate that Giants offense, but like you said, like they treat Ingram how they said they were going to. I mean, they'll line him up literally like in the slot sometimes and just treat him as a big wide receiver. So if the Giants offense breaks out, Ingram can be a part of that. I don't know what's going on with Brandon Marshall. What he has 2 catches in 2 weeks, and then he had that huge drop.
I told you this before the fucking season. He's not going to fit in this goddamn offense. Nobody listens to me.
I didn't listen. I drafted him in a league, and it has gone terribly.
I knew this was going to happen. It wasn't hard to see. I just didn't. Eli's not that good, and Marshall's getting old, and he just focuses on fucking Odell Beckham, and then when Beckham was out, he focused on Sterling Shepard. I honestly predicted Shepard to have a better year than Brandon Marshall.
Yeah, I think I'm going to eat my words on this one.
It's still early, and I'm still going to sit there and make that prediction.
I know, it is early, and I think I'm already admitting defeat on this one because I was all about Marshall as like a top 20 receiver.
I did not like him at all.
He's not even a top 20 receiver in the NFC right now. So,
no.
Well, you've made a lot of bold predictions. Do you have any other bold predictions for Week 3?
No, my bold prediction is the Jaguars win again.
My bold prediction is about that game as well, and it's that a quarterback not named Blake Bortles will get snaps in that game.
Yeah, Joe Flacco.
No, a Jaguars quarterback. I'm sorry.
You're trying to sneak one past me there.
That would have been an easy bold prediction.
Fucking idiot. And the other one is Todd Gurley will have at least 2 touchdowns.
Nice. That's a guarantee, man.
Nailed it.
Well, thank you once again for listening to the Loaded Box podcast. I'm going to do my damnedest to stop this thing as soon as DJ says bye, but I can't make any promises. So if you have any of your own fantasy football conundrums, life advice, whatever you may need, we're here for you. We're on Twitter at Loaded Box. So check us out. DJ, why don't you send us out?
Bye, fuckers.
Very nice.